What's going on, everybody? John Arapola here with My MMA News, and I can't believe a whole year's gone by already. Last year I had Lilian Garcia on to talk about the 2021 PFL season. Now, next thing you know, blink of an eye, we're already on to the 2022 PFL season. So, Lilian, thanks for being back here again. Really appreciate the time.
It is so great to be back. Look, it might have been a blink of an eye for you, but it has not been a blink of an eye for me. I am so excited to get back. I feel like it's been forever since I've been in that cage, so I'm fired up.
Yeah, I know it has been a little while now, so it's great to see the fighters going to be getting back in there and having a great season here. So let's just start with this whole season as a whole. Just how excited are you to see it kind of play out here, right? There's new fighters coming in. We have Kayla Harrison coming back. I know there's some questions whether she was going to come back. Just a whole brand new season of excitement to start all over again here.
I love that Kayla Harrison chose to come back. I think it really does show the magnitude of PFL. She probably had every offer in the book, right? And she chose to stay with PFL, and I think it says a lot about the PFL. It really does. And I think somebody else is returning, Anthony Pettis. He's being a big UFC fighter, and then he didn't get his fights in the regular season. I think him too. He woke up. He was like, "Whoa, this is the real deal." So that's what's so exciting about the PFL. It is not a pushover. This is hard stuff, and fighters fighting this often in such a short season makes it a little bit harder too, right? And it just makes it more exciting all the way around. I've been telling all my friends about it. I'm like, you're gonna love the PFL. Those that aren't watching yet, I'm like, this is so much fun to watch regular season, playoffs, and championship.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that with Anthony Pettis, because I remember when he signed last year, that was kind of like the big thing, like, Anthony's been on a skit here in the UFC, he'll go over to the PFL, he'll make a name for himself, he's going to run right through that. Well, he didn't. Rory McDonald, another guy, same setup, came over, did not run right through it. So it shows this high-level talent that's coming through, and now the PFL even just did recently, they had their little contender series for guys to get contracts, so a lot of other high-level talent of young guys coming through, so a lot of good young talent that's going to be on display this season as well.
There's a lot of hungry fighters, and that's what makes it so exciting. And the fact that they get to choose, their destiny is very exciting for the fighter. They get to decide, look, it's how hard I work at this. And that's what makes it so great. And, I always tell my friends that are getting into MMA, they're like, what is it about PFL that you love so much versus the others? And I said, you get to follow the fighter's journey. I mean, that's exciting when you get to see them fighting 4 times in a season, right? And you get to really see how they do in the regular season. And then if they have to get through some injuries and the whole story, and then what they're handling in their real lives too. And that's, those packages that we show of what they endure just in their regular lives. And then they have to mentally be prepared for a fight. That to me makes a great story and a great fight.
I agree. It's one of the things that I look forward to the most too with no matter what promotion is, getting to know the fighters outside the cage, because a lot of these fighters really are great people. And I know we opened up talking about Kayla Harrison. I do want to ask you a little bit about her now too, because she obviously has a great story. She was an Olympian before transitioning here into MMA, and I mean, talk about this ride here, right? Because she's undefeated. She's a big hot item in MMA, and I don't know about you, but during the Kayla Harrison sweepstakes there, it seemed like every day on Twitter it was like, Kayla Harrison's talking to this person, Kayla Harrison's doing this, Kayla Harrison's doing that, just to come right back to the PFL. So what was it like when she was in those free agency periods for you? Were you following along and looking what she was doing every single day like everybody else was?
Yeah, I mean, I was following as much as I possibly could, and I was just the whole time going, God, I hope she really stays with us, because it really is special to have her. And I was lucky enough to get to know her a little bit more. I invited her backstage at WWE. She came and she visited a lot of the WWE superstars. And for example, watching her and Kurt Angle, who's another Olympic gold medalist, was so special, having them talk. And then AJ Styles is a huge MMA fan. Stone Cold Steve Austin, huge MMA fan. He was backstage that day, and so they got to meet, and just seeing, her face light up, and even her holding the titles and all. It was a special night, and it let me see Kayla in a different light. But man, when she steps into that cage, she is fierce. So I just think it's great, because I think a lot more women too are going to be wanting to come over and just go against her.
Yeah, one of the big hot items right now in the whole MMA world is this whole Chris Cyborg and Kayla Harrison fight. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Are we going to have a crossover? Are we not? Well, whether or not that's actually going to happen, and a lot of logistics go into that, so I'm not going to ask you if you think it's going to happen, but here's the question I want to ask you. Is Kayla Harrison, in your mind, the baddest woman on the planet? Because a lot of people believe she is. She's the one with the undefeated record. It seems like she's the one that has all the headlines nowadays. In your mind, is Kayla Harrison the number one woman in the sport of mixed martial arts right now?
I will say one thing. When she speaks and she says, I'm the best, whatever, it's not hot air coming out of her. She is proving every single time. And I have a lot of respect for that. When you can back the talk, and she backs the talk.
She absolutely does. And now, one last thing now here before we start moving on to some other topics here. I just wanted to get your thoughts on some other fighters maybe to watch out for this season. I know we did mention a few earlier on about like seasons, how they had last year as opposed to coming over this year. But who are some fighters or even some weight divisions even that you're going to have your eye on for this upcoming season?
Well, I can't wait to see, this Wednesday, as far as Clay Collard back in that cage. I think, following his journey last year was so spectacular and so exciting. And he showed up in such a big way. I mean, look what he did with Anthony Pettis, right? So just to see him back and then to see him, against Jeremy, it's going to be so fun to see what happens there. Another UFC fighter that's come over, Jeremy Stevens. So it's going to be exciting for sure to watch his journey. We've got also some champions that are coming back. Raush Manfio, just his personality alone is amazing. He's so infectious and so energetic. So I loved watching his journey as well last year. And it's going to be a really fun season. Don't miss it, people.
Again, that season kicking off on Wednesday. That's this Wednesday, April 20th. And Lilian, I want to talk now about this whole promotion too at the PFL because it seems like just every single year it's getting bigger and bigger and evolving so much. So we talked earlier, right? There was this year little contender series that they had, and with that contender series, right, a lot of big celebrities. Well, we know Wiz Khalifa came on last year. He did a lot of stuff with you guys, but then Ray Lewis was involved, Todd Gurley. I know Mike Tyson has done some stuff in the past. He was big with this contender series. So obviously just seeing like these celebrities that are getting behind it and the ratings are going up each and every single year. Now you've been with the company now for a few years. What's it been like for you just to watch it grow and evolve these last few years?
That's been so exciting. I came on in year 2, and here we are in year 4. And so I've been going into my 3rd year with them. And it's just been exciting for such a young company to grow this fast. And ESPN, like big ESPN, is going to have us on like 6 or 7 times this season. So that's really exciting. And that shows you something, right? It shows you that they're really loving the product. And it's not just the fighters, but the production quality of this, organization has been spectacular. And for me, it's just been really great to be a part of because the people behind the organization, my boss, everybody that I work with is so awesome and so easygoing and great to work with, and everyone's just so talented. So for me to come off of a platform like WWE for 15 years, I didn't know what to expect. And so to step into this and then be in something that's growing so fast and getting the attention of so many celebrities and so many people around the world, yeah, of course, this is awesome. And I'm just so glad that I gave it a chance.
And you're doing a fantastic job, too. It's great seeing you inside the cage there and always repping the PFL gear like you've been wearing all the time there. I know you have it on right now, too. There it is. And I know you mentioned, right, your years at the WWE was a huge company. I know you still do some work for them. So I do want to ask you a little bit about that. I know WrestleMania's wrapped up. You were down there for a little, it was an autograph session, like a fan meet and greet thing. So what's it been like for you still being slightly involved with the company and still seeing the fans and watching that company continue to be so successful?
I love WWE. I mean, it was my home, like I said, for 15 years. It's something very special to me. They've been very, very special to me. And the fans, if it wasn't for the fans, I wouldn't have had such a long run. They accepted me, and then for them to actually come over, some of them were MMA watchers, but some of them weren't. And a lot of them have come over and they're like, wow, this is really cool. And they're loving that. And then, it's the MMA crowd that has embraced me. That has been so special. So it's just, I feel very grateful and very lucky to have had that in my career, especially because I didn't know what I was doing when I went into WWE. I got hired and thrown in the very first day. And then with MMA, they really were so careful in trying to get me ready. And I told them that. I said, I really just want to be ready, and I need your help. And it's been really great to have that. But going back and seeing all these people that I worked with for so many years was so great.
So we were talking before with the PFL about how it's been growing and evolving. I do want to ask you this with the WWE now, because they've been so great at evolving over time. And actually, it's funny. I usually don't ever argue with people on Facebook, but the other day, this one comment got to me that I want to get your thoughts on. So somebody was saying the WWE had announced that they were coming to my area in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and somebody goes, "I'm not going to this show. It's not anything like it used to be. If you still watch it, you're blah, 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 blah." I'm like, if you don't want to go, don't go. Okay, they're going to sell the arena out whether you're there or not. So you're just be fighting for a ticket anyway. And then he kind of, went back. He's like, "Oh, well, come on. Like, you grew up in the Attitude Era. How could you say that this show is not better than that?" I'm like, listen, you sound like an old fuddy duddy right now saying it was better in my day. Like, all right, yeah, the Attitude Era was special. We know that, but
yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It really was.
I was in that, so yes, it was.
Yeah, you know firsthand what the Attitude Era was like, but you have to give the WWE credit, like how they've been able to adapt over time, because to sell out arenas for generation after generation after generation after generation, you have to be constantly growing and adapting and changing with the times. So, I mean, you have to give a lot of credit to the McMahons and to everybody involved with that to make it the show that it still is now.
Absolutely. And I'd say to that guy that, I mean, it's great that he appreciates the Attitude Era. And it's funny because we were in it. We didn't know how special it was until we were no longer in it. And then we look back and we go, whoa, we were in a really special time, but look, generations before him, that's what they were saying, right? They might look at the Attitude Era and go, it's nothing like when I was watching it, So I think every generation is going to have that. And I just think it's great that WWE continues because, kids keep growing, people keep growing, new generations come along, and you can't just copy one era and then make it stay forever, because then that gets stale. So I love that they've evolved and they got some really cool characters, now they're very different, and it's fine.
And one of the evolution too that we've really seen in more recent years has been the evolution of the women now being superstars. Like it started off where it was all about bra and panty matches, and which again, Attitude Era was a wild and fun time to watch, especially if you were a young male fan for sure. But then obviously then they grew into the Divas division. Now they're superstars, and there's one superstar that I have to ask about in particular. Becky Lynch. So it was funny. I was just getting back into watching wrestling last year after WrestleMania, and it was funny. I watched WrestleMania like the week or two after, timing just like this, where I had interviewed you, and I had been watching Monday Night Raw. And at the time, Becky Lynch was out on maternity leave, and it was funny because Charlotte Flair would be in the ring, and all the fans would be chanting, "We want Becky, we want Becky." I'm like, I know who Becky Lynch is. I always get my tabs on it, but I didn't get why is it this big deal about Becky Lynch. She returns at SummerSlam, the arena erupts, and she's looking around with a smile on her face. Me watching at home, I got chills watching it at home. Like, I can't believe how big of a star this girl is. And now she's evolving like my favorite wrestler to watch. Like I went to, she was my Halloween costume for the year. What is it about Becky Lynch that makes her such this big superstar? I think she had on her Instagram the other day, I think she was rated like the 6th most influential woman of the last century or something like that, something crazy like that. Like she's really a big popular item.
I am so happy for Becky. I was lucky enough to have a close relationship with Becky. In fact, she came up, she was wanting to live in California. And at the time I was living in Marina del Rey, and she was like, "I don't know where to live." And I said, "Well, look, I'm living in this apartment. I can show you the complex. It's beautiful. It's great." She came over and she looked, she goes, "This is exactly where I want to live." So she moved in the apartment right across from me. So we got to hang out and talk. And I just remember her fire. I remember her saying, like, "I know I can do this. I know that I can be at the caliber." Like she was really thinking, like, she was riding with Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte was just getting everything. And she goes, "It's wonderful. She's getting everything, but I know that I can do it too." And you could just hear or feel and see her wheels turning of, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And then one day it just clicked, and it just was her and magic, and it happened. And I'm so grateful because for her, she really worked hard for it. She really earned that. And that's what I love to see, is when superstars work really hard and then they earn it and get it.
Yeah, and obviously the rest is history. Then she became this big, huge star. And you were mentioning with Charlotte Flair that was like a huge storyline recently, because obviously you kind of knew there was tension between the two, but Charlotte kind of was able to play it off. Oh, we kind of grew apart. I started dating my fiance. She got with Seth. But then Becky kind of came out and blew the lid off it and said that there was obviously problems with the level of stardom and everything else. And when they had their match at Survivor Series, I don't know if you were able to watch or not, but like, I couldn't tell when things were choreographed. They were actually throwing punches. There was a lot of heat. And then afterwards, Becky was crying when she was doing her interviews. And obviously, you've been with the company for so long. You've probably seen plenty of feuds between athletes. Is this kind of like a common thing in that industry? Because I don't think people really, obviously people understand the characters part of it, but there's a whole life outside of this where you guys obviously have, and you have friendships, and obviously, we know it's like anybody that goes through a job has coworkers that you get into riffs with every once in a while. Is this like a real thing behind the scenes that with these WWE guys, that there are problems every once in a while when it comes to superstardom and whatnot?
I really didn't see a lot of that, even in the locker room, to be honest with you. There's a lot of great camaraderie and people helping each other and all. And if there's tension, it really isn't displayed, not backstage. I mean, maybe, out in the ring, that's where they can actually put that emphasis on that and the emotion and all. But you got to understand, if there is any riff like that and the emotion behind a match and all, on top of the emotional, right? The emotion of the people, the emotion of the fight, but then the emotion of the mentality of if there is anything that's going on, of course it's all going to play out and it's going to release, so I don't know if that's what Becky was doing, releasing that afterwards. But yet this is a very passionate business. And I think that's what people love about it. And I love when people say, I can't tell if that was part of it or not part of it. That tells you it was a really good match.
It absolutely was. It was worth every single penny to watch those two go at it that day. And they're two great performers as well. And speaking of great performers, we opened up talking about a lot of the MMA and the PFL, and now we got the WWE. We know that WWE guys have gone over, like Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. They competed in MMA. Is there anybody else in WWE that you think would do great in MMA, or vice versa? Is there anybody that from the PFL or anybody that's involved in MMA that could come over to the WWE and do great things in there?
It's funny, I haven't really given that much thought, to be honest with you. I remember somebody asking me that last year. Maybe it was you. I don't remember. I was in an interview. But I remembered saying something about AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy. And it's just because their agility and I mean, it seems like they're just overall performers, right? And could go in there and grapple at any minute or box, or like I love the sport of MMA because of that, because there's just so many, like, you have in a split second you have to decide, what am I going to use? And so that's the thing that at Page side I've been just so in awe of, watching them decide in that split second, what's the best tactic I can use to win this fight. So I haven't really given a lot of thought as to the crossover, but I know one thing, either way, they're different. They're different. And so you have to prep for something completely different when you go over. And I think that some people got shocked, CM Punk coming over to MMA. I think he was a little bit like, whoa, this is really different than what I've been doing. And then probably, and vice versa. I'm sure, Ronda Rousey, when she went over, she had to relearn a lot of things, shift into more of the wrestling moves. And she even said it, like, there was a learning curve. So it is different. It's the same, but different, so it's just, both of them take great athleticism.
Definitely. And now let's get into some other things here. So obviously we know that you're heavily involved with PFL. We know that you're heavily involved with WWE. I'm not sure how many people know this or not, but if they don't, now they're going to know. You are a great singer. You release a lot of music. Last year when we spoke, I know the plan was to release some music. Kind of give us the latest. What's going on with the music career?
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Like, I've been singing since I was 5. So it was just really special for me that I got to actually incorporate that into the WWE, singing the anthem. recording my Quiero Vivir album and releasing that. I had a My Time album, and then performing, at all these different events. And my God, I still hold the record for performing the most times at WrestleMania. That blows my mind, and it's so special to me. But yeah, so I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do music wise? And I was recording some music, and things were feeling okay, but not great. And I even had a company that came after me, and they wanted to release some music. And we were supposed to release it at the beginning of this year. And I said to them in December, I said, or I think it was like November, I said, it doesn't feel right yet. It doesn't feel right. And I've been really good at listening to my intuition and not trying to rush anything. And so we didn't release it. And then we had a meeting in January, and we were going to release it in March. And I was like, still doesn't feel right. And what happened was, my friend actually took me to church in December. And now I'm Catholic. So I was thinking, okay, we're going to go to a typical, Catholic church or something. No, and she told me, she goes, this is non-denominational. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. We walk in, it's an arena. Okay. It's the size of an arena. And the band starts playing, and I'm blown away. 15 minutes in, I'm like, am I at church or am I at a rock concert? This is awesome. Lights, band, like full on band, and the stage is huge, and the lights and the sound is phenomenal. And by the time I went the second time, I was like, I wonder if they need a singer. And I ended up auditioning, and I started with them in February. It has been unbelievable. I sing at Mariners. It's here in Irvine. I invite anybody to come check it out, because it is incredible. And from that, it's really set the tone now. I'm doing some new writing. As a matter of fact, I got off today. Earlier today, I was writing with my writing partner, and she's in Nashville. So we were Zoom writing, and we're just getting some new music ready. And I'm really excited, because I feel like I have a clear direction now and a clear sound. And now things are just starting to open and come into place. And that's why I want to share this, because if anybody's feeling that intuition of, nah, not yet, then listen to it. Wait for the flow. When there's a flow, man, it will open like water that, you just removed the barrier. It just flows. And that's exactly what I'm in. So I'm so excited.
All right. And it's a lot of great stuff there. So I have two things. We'll start with this one here, though. You're talking about how, you're so happy with all this. I think it's starting to flow out now. Do you feel now that you're in the right spot, with your music career, that man, it's just coming easy? Notes are just flying left and right. It's so easy. Lyric, all of it is just coming so easy, because you're in the right space mentally now, because of experiencing now what you experienced.
Absolutely. I think that right now I'm definitely in the right spot. You said it today when we were writing. I just feel such joy. It's not, struggling for the words or struggling for this or not forcing things. I mean, it's just coming. And I think God was waiting for me for a long time for this. So I'm like, I'm here. I surrender, and this is awesome. So I'm really stoked to share it with all of you once it's done.
All right, now here's the second part of the question. This is something that I was planning on asking you, because before I started really getting into covering MMA, I was working for a TV station here in Pennsylvania, and when coronavirus happened, I've been laid off, called back, laid off, the whole coronavirus thing that the world kind of got used to there. But before all of that, they used to produce a TV show, and somehow I got in charge of hosting it. So all right, so I'm learning about the music industry as I kind of go along with it. And I always assumed, and maybe people out there did too, or maybe I'm dumb for the one that assumed this, but I always thought you get a good hit, you write the words down to your song and then do the music. No, it's the other way around. You get the music and then you kind of figure out words to kind of match the music, which I found very interesting. That's kind of how things went down there. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and how just difficult it is to, number one, just produce a song, to be able to find a unique set of music and then be able to write words to match that. And then when you're releasing albums, I mean, you're putting multiple songs on it. So it's a very, very, very difficult process that I don't think people really realize.
Well, it is a difficult, but that's why, there's not
I mean, there's hit songs, but not every song is a hit song, right? You can't just, it just doesn't work that way. But there's people that do it both ways. There's people that do write their lyrics and then they add the music afterwards. I've never been able to do that. I need to hear music. The music to me inspires what I'm going to write about, first of all. Now, with this particular writer that I'm working with, I am lucky enough where, because I don't play music. So I wish I would have, but I had a really bad instructor when I took piano lessons and he turned me off and I never looked back. And now I'm like, damn it, I should have just changed instructors. But luckily, like I told her already what I wanted this song to kind of be about. I told her a theme. So I did come into this one with already a theme. And then she was like, okay, based on what you were saying, what about this? Do you hear like these chords? And then that's how we work with the chords. And then we'll work with lyrics and then trying to sing that together. So it's kind of a combination of both. But people work completely different. I love sometimes when I get an entire music track that has no lyrics, no melody, and then I make up the lyrics and the melody to the music track. I love writing that way too.
Gotcha. We know that you're big too with the national anthems. You've been at the WWE for so long. You had mentioned that before. Are you still performing at different stadiums? And I know, I think, was it last year? I think you did a Clippers game or something. Are you still heavily involved in singing the national anthem at different events?
Well, because of COVID, I really didn't do any because of, you know, everybody was shutting down or they weren't flying anybody. They were just using local talent. But the New York Jets have contacted me already. They're going to get their schedule in May. And so they're going to get me on the books to sing for the Jets again. And this will be, I think it's my 14th time with them. So I'm excited about that. They've been really amazing to work with. And that all started because the guy that books the anthem singers and the team, he was there with some of the team members at a WWE event where I sang the national anthem, and he gave me his card. He was right in the front door and he gave me his card, front row, and he gave me his card and he's like, you've got to contact me. I got to get you to sing for the Jets. And that propelled from the Jets. I did the Dolphins and I did, Green Bay Packers, and I've done NBA, and I'm looking to get back more into doing that as well, because the national anthem for me is very special as an Army brat. And there's something, I don't know, there's something that I've been able to touch hearts with it. That's what people have said to me. So that's why I sing. That's why I perform. So I'm ready to do more. And I've been also doing it at PFL. So that's cool.
Awesome, Lilian. Thanks again. I appreciate the time. Again, PFL season's kicking off on Wednesday. That's this Wednesday, April 20th, literally 2 days from now. So make sure you guys check it out. Lilian, one last thing, though, before you roll out. Go ahead, plug your social media. Tell everybody where they can follow you at, wherever you release music at. I know you have a few different avenues with that. So go ahead and plug whatever you have to plug so people know where to find you at.
Absolutely. Well, I'm at Lilian Garcia on Instagram, Twitter, although I'm not using Twitter very much these days. Instagram is my thing, or Facebook. It's Lilian Garcia official fan page on Facebook. For music, you can just go to Spotify or Apple Music, any of those platforms where you get your music. And it's just really excited to be back in the PFL and be back with the fans. We got fans this year again. Woo!
All right, Lilian, thanks so much for all the time here today. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate all you guys watching today's interview. If you liked it, please go to the bottom, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and keep going to MyMMANews for our great content that comes out there. And just as a reminder, you can see Lilian do the cage announcing for the PFL during this whole PFL upcoming season, which we're all excited for. That, of course, begins this Wednesday, literally 2 days from now on April 20th. So make sure you guys are paying attention to this upcoming PFL season as well. We'll see you later, everybody.